What's a piece of information you learned that now feels almost illegal to know? You can ask the FBI if they have a file on you. When I was a kid, my dad taught me how to pick a lock. I became very interested in different kinds of locks and purchased a lockpick set. I practiced for years and became pretty good at certain types of locks. So over the years, every now and then, if a neighbor locks themselves out of the house or a friend loses the key to a padlock or a lockbox, I've been able to help. But the reactions I tend to get from people, even while I'm helping them with their lock, is mainly one of mistrust. I'm not a cat burglar. I just like locks. In Canada, you can record any conversation with someone without their knowledge, unless it is in furtherance of an offense. I had to do this with an auto restoration shop in order to do a Visa chargeback when they did nothing to my car but steal parts for almost a year. Curtis Customs in Nova Scotia. I don't mind mentioning them because there are already news stories about their scams. It takes 3 full rotations to remove a human head due to the skin's elasticity. 51 is divisible by 17. This is England knowledge. Other countries may vary, if you are struggling to pay bills. Make water the first one you skip. Access to water is protected by law, so the utility supplier cannot cut you off. Edit. Thanks for all the replies, but honestly, I don't think I need anyone else to tell me this doesn't apply in the US. I worked for a giant tech company and apparently share the same name as a very high-up hardware engineer. Got put on email threads I definitely didn't belong on. Edit. On a similar funny note, one of my friends with a common name at the same company got a promotion. Our manager searched his name in the system, clicked the first she saw, and promoted him. Well, it was the wrong guy, and the guy she clicked on was also very high up, and in return it made him lose a bunch of his access, pay, benefits, etc. How to make explosives with everyday home products. Edit. I posted this innocuous message before bed and it went wild. I learned this info back in college in the early 80s but never used it. The guy the first got the information from did, so I know it worked. And no, I will not share it. It's all over the internet, so a quick search can find a lot of ways. Well, I gave my 9th grade chemistry class a detailed report on diacetylmorphine, heroin, for a project about organic molecules, including how to make it. It was pretty interesting to do and fun to present. But I feel like I broke the law somehow. I don't know if it's still a thing. But if you listen to Pandora Radio, the songs download into your temp folder under your browser. Just add the MP4 after it and you can play it. I spent lots of college listening to Pandora. And if I liked a song, I'd save it. If you paused the song in time, then the most recent song was the top one in the temp folder. 90% of home locks are easily pickable with a little know-how and a couple pieces of metal. When you have a debt with a collection agency, you can pay the debt and then call back a few weeks later and say, "I was told when I called and paid that you'd remove this from my credit score." And then you ask for documentation saying they're gonna do it. Apparently collection agencies don't keep super good records on stuff like that. They just want your money. It worked for me. And I hope it can work for you if you need it in the future. Edit. I see many comments saying things along the lines of, "Hell no, don't pay them, it comes off after 7 years." I completely get that. I had quite a few things in collections. And they absolutely destroyed my credit over them. I was in the middle of the 7 years and needed to get my credit score fixed ASAP. Doing this took my credit score from mid-500s to mid-700s. Sure, there are plenty of people on here who say it never hit their credit. And that's great for you. There are also many people suggesting talking to an attorney. That's another route you can take. This is what worked for me. And everyone else is likely in a different situation. You must do what you feel is right. Thank you to everyone commenting other information because it's all helpful. Credit scores are dumb and I wish they didn't exist. How to make a few different drugs. Organic chem at uni. 1284X is a Ford Fleet key. Not chipped. Can be found on Amazon for $7 and perfectly legal to replicate. Searching 1284X file type. PDF site. Governor. Will pull government bids that involve that key. And also show you what agencies you could open up or drive away a police car. Aluminum foil can block the theft's detection signals in supermarkets. Most large retail employers don't have a policy against recording your interactions with your bosses. When you're on a jury, you can vote for someone as innocent even if you think they did it. Most common reasoning for this would be if you just think that they shouldn't be punished for whatever they did. I can't remember the term for it, something like third option. Totally another route of what everyone else is posting, but the lion at the Animal Kingdom safari ride isn't chained. Disney World Park. He is fed a huge piece of meat every morning and sits on a rock that is changed to the perfect temperature for him every day, so he has no reason to attack anyone on the safari ride. If you have a song on Spotify, you can play it on loop on your computer, with the volume at the lowest, not muted, and it will count you as many reproductions a day. This is good if you don't intend to be famous but to make a bit of money. I made $2.75 with 1,200 reproductions, 99% were mine. The tricks doctors use to distract you when they're trying to check your reflexes. How to make thermite. I don't know why. Thermite itself isn't actually all that useful or destructive. It burns hot, sure, but it's not going to melt anything very well without a proper vessel to contain and direct the heat into the thing you want to melt. Edit. Why the fuck is everyone melting people's engines with it? WTF did they do to you to require that sort of a response? Well, I'm in med school, and funny enough, learning how to not kill a person involves learning about a shit ton of ways to kill a person. Edit. Y'all are asking for examples. Understandable. So I'll provide some. In hope it's purely for academical purposes and innocent curiosity, smiley face. There are a lot of very interesting ways to kill a person beside the obvious and boring gunshot. The most important one for a doctor being drug overdose, cause there are a lot of drugs that can totally kill you. In fact, basically anything could kill you if you assume too much of it. Hell, you could die of water overdose. If you drink too much water fast enough for your kidneys to not be able to filter it out, your blood will become too diluted to function and your blood pressure will skyrocket. To put up for this, your body will start storing excess water in places it shouldn't be. For example, the brain. And the brain really doesn't like being compressed. You'll either die for cardiac failure due to excessive blood pressure, tissue death for lack of oxygen, of brain death for excessive intracranial pressure. Other fairly common substances and drugs that can kill you are potassium, But bananas are healthy. Yeah, I know, but pure potassium is actually one of the deadliest substances you can find in a hospital, and it takes a tiny amount to kill a person. Paracetamol. It takes only about 12 to 15 grams of paracetamol to kill an average of 50% of the subjects. And where I live, 1 gram pills are incredibly common. So it's just 12 pills. Air, about 10/20ths of a cc in a vein and you're beyond saving. And really a ton of other stuff. Correction. Death from water overdose actually occurs from osmotic pressure imbalance, which causes other important substances in your body to migrate out of your cells and into your blood because of the different concentration gradient and because substances tend to diffuse toward the areas with the lower concentrations. Another way I personally find so absurd it's almost funny is breaking the cribriform plate. Have you ever wondered how does the sense of smell work? You have thousands of tiny receptors on the very upper part of your nasal cavity. But those aren't connected to a nerve like it is for taste buds or pain receptors. Those are connected directly to your brain through a tiny bone strip that divides the base of your brain from the top of your nasal cavity, which is about as thick as a few paper sheets and full of tiny holes for the brain cells there to connect to the smell receptors. You basically have a bunch of brain cells dangling in your nose. And that bone is insanely easy to break. You just have to push a long enough stick upright in someone's nose. Also, in front of that bone there is another vertical bone segment that divides the left and right part of the nose cavity. If you punch someone's nose hard enough for that bone to be pushed backwards, it can actually perforate the skull. The brain damage coming from it may not be huge, but the nose is very dirty and the immune system cannot reach the brain, which has other defenses against pathogens. If you break through the skull like that, you will push a ton of bacteria inside the brain and the subject will very likely die from bacterial meningitis and infection after a few days. This is both how ancient Egyptians took the brains out of pharaohs' bodies and the reason why many body combat sports have banned nose and face punches. Also, contrary to popular belief, if you hang someone they don't actually die from asphyxiation. Instead their neck usually breaks. And there are 2 pretty big arteries going right through 6 out the 7 cervical vertebrae. Those arteries are usually snapped along with the bone structure. And the person dies because their brain doesn't get enough blood anymore. Which usually happens before the subject can bleed out internally. I hope I satisfied a bit of your curiosity. Please do not kill anyone. Also, I'm just a first-year student. So if older med student or doctors want to point out mistakes or add something, please go ahead. Edit 2. That helpful award really scares me. It is illegal for a company to forbid you from discussing your wages with your coworkers. If you work through your lunch break, you are entitled to compensation. If you are expected to do work while you are on break, you're not on break. If your cash till doesn't lock, or if other people, including managers, can get into your till, the company cannot dock your pay for missing cash. At will, states can fire you for any bullshit reason. Stay safe, fellow wage slaves. Know your worth. Know your labor laws. And cover your ass. Confidence can open a lot of doors. A lot of times, you can get away with more with some swagger than you otherwise would, being meek about it. I had a stats professor who used to work for the US government. I'm not sure exactly what his job was, but it definitely involved evaluating the status and readiness of nukes. Both ours and the USSR's. He was probably at least 70 and had been retired from that job for a while. One day in class he just started talking about the percentage of nukes that fail, ours and theirs, and why they fail, and all kinds of other seemingly sensitive information. I don't think he would have told us anything classified. But his personality was boisterous and irreverent enough that I am not sure. I literally expected a team of spooks to bust down the door at any minute and drag us all off for interviews in windowless rooms. How to make Molotov cocktails. Basically shred like a quarter cup of bar soap into a 12-inch glass bottle or something similar. Then add gasoline and mix it all round. Add the stopper and rag of your choice, and there you go. A basic Molotov cocktail. Now enjoy your new CIA agents. In regards to military-grade bombs and missiles, it takes actual effort to make one go off on the ground. Like, you literally have to go out of your way to arm the fuse. Then sit around for a timer to detonate said bomb. It's not like in the movies, where a soft breeze or some nutjob with a hammer will make a bomb just explode for no reason. Police are allowed to lie to you. So are military recruiters. Unionization saves you more money than it costs you. You cannot be punished for attempting to do so. And it is not in any way illegal, rude, or improper to discuss your salary with your coworkers. It feels illegal because every company on the fucking planet has tried to make people think unions are evil monsters trying to get you to pay union dues for no return. This is false, because union dues are much less expensive than a company underpaying you and trying to work you to death, which a union fights against. Unions are there to prevent worker exploitation. Stop it if people were being exploited when they got there. And get you a fair wage that will actually let you live off of one job instead of needing 4 to 5 or to work criminal amounts of overtime. Edit. Yes. I know this is mostly a US problem. I come from the US and it just feels frustrating that the word union is treated worse than any number of curse words in 99% of workplaces here. Also, to those who have given awards, holy shit. Thank you so much. Never gotten one of these things before, lol. We can't see the 4th dimension, but the 4th dimension can see us. There is a book called 100 Deadly Skills that teaches you how to do all sorts of potentially illegal stuff. Probably gonna get buried. But there is larger clinic in my hometown and they have a shady practice. 1. They'd cold call patients they haven't seen 1 to 5 years to set up an appointment for no reason. 2. If the patient doesn't reply, because why would they? The clinic would proceed to schedule an appointment without patient consent and send a letter out. 3. The clinic then would prep a room with supplies they couldn't just put back. The patients would usually no-show, because they didn't open the letter. 4. They would strip the room and chuck the supplies and bill the patient as if they had the appointment. Because the clinic had a patient no-show policy, they'd still be billed for the appointment. 5. If the patient paid the bill, they win. But if patients contested the bill, and they dismiss the charges only to use it as a write-off at the end of the year because it was a loss. Boggles my mind. Edit. I have no evidence to substantiate this. It's mostly some observations on my part and things I heard from people in relative job positions pertaining to this, and it's not hard to figure it out once you hear all the information. This was also almost 6 to 7 years ago, and for all I know they discontinued their patient no-show policy because it was widely unpopular among the patient census. If you rent out your home for 14 or fewer days a year, you do not have to pay taxes on this income. Section 280A, G, of the Internal Revenue Code. Hospitals have but don't tell you about a program to reduce your bills depending on how much you make. You can go to their website and find a usually hidden link for financial assistance policies and really cut your bill down. Crystal meth isn't particularly difficult to synthesize, and you can possibly have a cheap knockoff using materials available in a high school chemistry lab. You can ask scientists for their research paper that you usually have to pay money to view in a journal. They are allowed to just email it to you, no questions asked, and they like to do it. The last airplane you rode was likely assembled with parts not fully conforming to QC standards but passed through inspection anyways. What the inside of a British postbox looks like. Gen P. Literally just a way to bypass the 7-day restriction on Adobe product trials. I've been needing Photoshop, but I don't trust anything pre-cracked. This community had a guide ready to go. Was done in 10 minutes. Men's balls are constantly moving around. Even if the person isn't moving at all, the balls are still moving around. The average working-class American will never retire. Margaret Sanger championed a woman's right to choose in the early 1900s and almost went to prison for it. She established the organizations that eventually came together to form what we now know as Planned Parenthood. In fact, she popularized the phrase birth control and a popular punk phrase, later adopted by anarcho-punks. No gods. No masters. She was forced to flee the country to avoid a trial for the crime of obscenity, passing out pamphlets explaining and supporting contraceptives, and spent several years in England. Upon her return, she went to trial and won, which helped to draw several lines in the sand in regard to both free speech and women's rights. She also supported race-based eugenics. You can say no when cashiers ask for your email or phone number. When firefighters find a dead body in a fire, they call it crispy critter. Pretty fucked up. It is legal to grow opium poppies in the United States, but only if you don't know they can be used to make drugs. I went to film school in Indonesia and got to know the film industry. I learned that several prominent movie stars and directors are gay, but in the closet due to the country's homophobia. Accidentally outing them could mean the end of their careers. Or even worse, death. If you mix potash with water and add a charge, you can ignite the reacting gas, essentially turning water into fire-wave fire. When you do a KFC survey, you get free food. You can do them over and over again. My uncle works at Nintendo and told me all about the new Switch and let me play the new Zelda. Creating nitrogen triiodide. When in liquid form it is stable, but once it dries so much as a fly landing on it creates a purple smoke explosion. So unstable alpha waves can actually be used to detonate the stuff. It's actually easy to get the materials and create the stuff. Filled my high school hallway stairs with purple smoke on the last day of school. Dying is like taking a nap. You never know exactly when you fall asleep, die. Nor do you care that you're falling asleep because you're falling asleep. The average human penis has more blood in it than a rabbit. One thing I learned is in the state of California, if you are squatting a property for 5 years and have been upkeeping it with proof, you can file a claim of ownership with the courts and take over any property as long as it was deemed that the original owner never tried to remove you within the same time frame. Walmart can't physically intervene if you've stolen something. It does not make it not illegal. It just means they're not legally permitted to get into a physical altercation. Source: I've, regretfully, worked at Walmart. In U.S. politics, a PAC must disclose where the donation came from. However, if it's a super PAC, they do not have to disclose where the money came from. There's an astronomical chance your hand could just phase through whatever you touched. Edit. Thanks for the gold. I seem to have sparked a debate. I only know about quantum tunneling on a simplistic level. Styrofoam and petrol equals homemade napalm. Certain businesses give away food products. sale items, or services for free on your birthday. So the wife and I run around town on those days and score a lot of things. Some grocery store chains are given free sample packets to hand out and are always eager to get rid of them as soon as possible. Wife and I literally scored 500 plus Chex Mix seasoning packets. So we handed them out to low-income families we knew and put a huge amount in the local blessing box. That you can open a Chick-fil-A for only $10,000 USD and Chick-fil-A will cover the opening operating costs. I would bet my life savings on that one of the pieces of the data being recorded by the algorithm is categorizing us by something along the lines of willingness to comply or chances of being an agitator towards authority. Hello FBI guy, what's my rank on said list? Below are complete instructions on how to hack an electronic road sign. 1. The access panel to the electronic road sign is protected by a tiny lock which is often left unprotected. After you wiggle the lock open, you can usually see the display electronics. 2. Next, seek out the black control panel which is attached to the access panel by a curly cord and a keyboard as its face. 3. Not too difficult so far, is it? In terms of programming, you simply scroll down the menu to Instant Text and type in whatever you would like to display. Hit enter to submit and your message are good to go. If you need more than one page to send your tasteful message, you can add more pages by selecting Add Page. So if you are still struggling to reach the third step, no worries. If the sign does ask for a password, try the default password. If the motivated crew member did decide to change it, no worries. Enter DIPY, which will automatically reset the sign's password to dots. Have fun. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, subscribe and turn on notifications to be notified about future videos. Now check out one of these interesting videos.